What if everything they told you was a distraction? While the world argues about charts and headlines, a silent financial shift has already begun, not in the public eye, but behind closed doors, where real power moves. You won't see it trending. You won't hear it shouted on the news. Because what's happening with XRP and Bitcoin isn't designed to go viral. It's designed to go unnoticed. But here's the catch. By the time most people figure it out, the move is already over. This video isn't hype. It's not speculation. It's a mirror. And what you see in it could change how you view wealth, power, and your place in what comes next. If you've ever asked, why does the system feel rigged? Why do the rich always move first? Why do the rules seem written after the game ends? Then this isn't just a video. It's your signal. Welcome to XRP Today USA. We don't report headlines. We expose what's under them. The question isn't whether XRP or Bitcoin will win. The question is, will you recognize the shift before it's irreversible? Part 1. Bitcoin and institutional surge. What if $1.5 million for a single Bitcoin isn't speculation, but a setup? That's what ARK Invest just dropped. And they're not known for wild guesses. They predicted Tesla when the world laughed. Now they say Bitcoin will hit $1.5 million by 2030, not because of hype, but because of math. Since January 10, 2024, the game changed. The SEC approved 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs, opening the floodgates. Wall Street no longer has to ignore crypto. It can now own it on its own terms. And here's the part most miss. 93% of all Bitcoin has already been mined. Less than 1.4 million coins remain forever. This isn't just scarcity, this is a countdown. Now picture this. Pension funds, hedge giants, sovereign wealth, trillions in dry powder untouched until now. Institutional demand isn't measured in thousands, it's measured in weight. And when that weight moves into a fixed supply, you don't get a price pump, you get a supply shock. And while retail chases tweets, the real players are already stacking silently. Not to flip, to own. So if you think you've missed Bitcoin, think again. The final sprint hasn't started, but the starting gun has already fired. Part 2. XRP, the banker's coin. July 2023. One sentence from a US judge rewrote the game. XRP is not a security when traded on public exchanges. It wasn't a headline, it was a green light. And the ones watching closely knew exactly what it meant. Visa, BNY Mellon, Santander. They didn't cheer. They didn't tweet, they moved. Not in theory, not in sandbox pilots, but in real-world settlements. RippleNet began quietly replacing legacy rails, the same ones used by the global banking system for decades. Cross-border, instant, fractions of a cent. What took days now takes seconds. What cost dollars now costs less than a penny. This wasn't a tech demo, it was a quiet handover. And while retail traders debated price charts, the world's most conservative institutions were already integrating XRP into the flow of global capital. Because when you move billions a day, you don't care about hype. You care about cost, speed, reliability, regulatory green lights. And XRP had just cleared the last one. That's why they call it the banker's coin. Not because banks invented it, but because it does what no other asset can. And now, it's not about whether XRP will be used. It's about how much of the system it's already running behind the scenes. You won't see it in the news, but you'll feel it when the system quietly stops asking permission. Part 3. XRP ETF is coming. Bitcoin had its moment. Ethereum followed. Now it's XRP's turn. What do all three have in common? Clarity, liquidity, custody. And XRP has quietly checked all three boxes. Regulators once hesitated. Now, the path is paved. Since that court ruling in 2023, XRP is legally clear. Its daily volume is rising. Institutional custody solutions are already in place. BlackRock, Fidelity, Coinbase custody. The machinery is ready, and the gate is about to lift. But here's what most won't see until it's too late. Wall Street doesn't buy what's trending. It buys what it understands. And ETFs? That's the language Wall Street speaks fluently. A simple structure, a familiar wrapper. But with XRP inside, not for speculation, but for settlement, liquidity, and speed. Now ask yourself, what happens when just 1% of global institutional capital shifts into XRP? Trillions, redirected into an asset with a fixed supply. The result isn't growth, it's a repricing of the asset class itself. This won't start with a headline. It will start with a filing, a form, a leak, a whisper. And by the time retail hears the news, the first wave will already be in. XRP ETF isn't a dream. It's a loaded gun, and someone just cocked it. Part 4. Whale strategy, induce panic, buy cheap. Crashes don't just happen. They're planned, programmed, and perfectly executed. While most investors see chaos, whales see choreography. It starts with a whisper, a paused withdrawal on a major exchange, a DeFi exploit, a headline that spreads like wildfire. Then come the bots. Not random sell orders, but engineered dumps at psychological thresholds, $80K, $70K, $60K. One by one, retail investors blink. Fear kicks in. They hit sell, not because they understand, but because they feel something they can't control. That's the plan. Because behind every crash, there's always someone waiting on the other side of your panic, with a limit order and no emotion. Whales don't chase pumps, they harvest crashes. The market dips, they call it a discount. Your loss, their liquidity. They don't react, they trigger your reaction. And while you're watching red candles, they're building positions quietly, patiently, ruthlessly. This is how they've always done it, from Bitcoin to Ethereum, and now XRP. So the next time the fear hits, remember, if you're panicking, someone else already profited. Because in this market, emotions are tools, and the unprepared become supply. Part 5. Smart Investor Defense. Volatility isn't a threat, it's a filter. It separates the ones who guess from the ones who plan. While the crowd refreshes their portfolio in panic, smart investors don't flinch, because they've already placed limit orders at the levels the market fears most. 80,000K, 70,000K, even 60,000 times. These aren't just numbers, they're positions of power. Because when the wave hits, and it always does, it's too late to ask questions, too late to plan, too late to act. The market won't wait for your emotions to settle. So the question is, will you enter the storm with a blueprint, or just hope to survive it? Smart investors understand something the crowd forgets. The drop is where the gains begin. When others are selling out of fear, you're filling your bag on autopilot. Because you didn't wait to feel safe. You executed while the world hesitated. Calm isn't a personality trait, it's an edge. It's what separates those who lose 30% from those who make 300% on the exact same chart. So stop chasing candles, start building your plan. Set your levels, forget the noise. Let the panic serve you, not swallow you. Because in crypto, reaction is expensive, but preparation is priceless. Part 6. XRP sparks the altcoin wave. Every bull run has its rhythm. Bitcoin lights the fire, XRP spreads it. In 2017, while everyone was chasing Bitcoin's gains, XRP surged 35,000%, outperforming Bitcoin 25-1. That wasn't hype. That was sequence, a financial pattern buried inside every cycle. Because here's what happens. Every time, Bitcoin moves first. Liquidity flows in, but then it stalls. And in that pause, XRP moves. Not because it's following, but because it's wired into utility. It's not waiting for headlines. It's triggering demand from behind the scenes, in banks, in corridors, in real-time payment flows. From Bitcoin, XRP, large caps, meme coins. It's the rotation. And if you've only been watching Bitcoin, you're watching the decoy, because XRP doesn't follow the altcoin wave. It sparks it. Every time settlement adoption picks up, every time RippleNet connects a new corridor, every time regulatory clarity expands, XRP quietly gets ready, then ignites. That's why smart money watches XRP volume like a signal flare. Because when it jumps, the rest of the market catches fire. You don't have to catch every altcoin. You only need to spot the first domino. And for years, that first domino has had one name, XRP. Part 7. Final message. If you already hold Bitcoin or XRP, you're not behind. You're ahead of the curve, and most don't even know a curve exists. But if you don't, then ask yourself one honest question. What are you waiting for? A headline? A tweet? A green candle to give you permission? Because here's the truth. Markets don't wait, and neither does history. XRP isn't just another token anymore. It's not hope. It's not hype. It's infrastructure. It's corridors. It's systems already in motion, under the surface of what most people see. And the next financial shift? It won't come with fanfare. There won't be a countdown. It will happen quietly, without noise, without warning. And by the time the world wakes up, those who hesitated will be left chasing what's already moved. Because this isn't about being right. It's about being early enough to matter. So now it's your turn to decide. Are you still watching the screen, or are you finally seeing the signal? You've heard the data. You've seen the patterns. You've felt the shift building under your feet. Now it's no longer a question of if. It's a matter of when. Bitcoin opened the gate. XRP is laying the foundation. While the headlines distract, while influencers chase attention, the next generation of wealth is positioning in silence. And the only question that matters now is, will you act in silence or watch in regret? At XRP Today USA, we don't follow hype. We track the signal before it becomes noise. We're not here to predict, we're here to prepare. So if this message stirred something in you, don't let the screen go dark and take it with it. Share it, think on it, act on it. Because in the world that's coming, early isn't lucky, it's intentional. And silence isn't weakness. It's the new language of power.